Hey, Thriving Launchers. Today we're going to talk about dialing in the metrics on your business so that you know whether or not you should stay in business, change the numbers, or whatever it is that you need to be tracking so that you know exactly what your business will be doing so that you can keep increasing profits and not have so many losses.
Welcome to Thriving Launch with Luis Congdon and Kamala Chambers, the show for heart-centered entrepreneurs who want it all.
Maybe you can relate to this. When I was a full-time coach, I found that I had to keep repeating the same things to people over and over and over again, and it got to be kind of draining, and I wasn't really enjoying what I was doing anymore. So what I decided to do was record the things that I had to tell clients over and over and over again. And then I packaged those recordings together and sold them as an online course. If you're interested in creating and selling your own online course, head over to thrivinglaunch.com and I have a free training for you on how to create and make passive income through your own online course.
Today's guest is Matthew Griffin. He is the CEO of Combat Flip Flops, a company that has experienced a 450% annual growth rate. Griff joins us as a former West Point graduate and also somebody who served in the 75th Ranger Regiment as a rifle company fire support officer, 3 tours to Afghanistan and a tour to Iraq. He joins us because he's created an incredible company that has mission, purpose, and is driven by somebody's history and past and utilized all that history and past to create an incredible business. And he's here to join us to teach us about how to run a successful business. Okay, Thriving Launchers, you've heard of him now, and we have him on the call. Griff, are you ready to launch?
All day, every day.
I love it. Griff, one of the things that you were saying before the interview, and I think it's something that's really important for anybody, whether you're selling physical products or non-physical products, but the dangers are probably a little starker, stronger when you have physical products. You were talking about, like, when you are selling physical products, there's a lot of errors or things that people don't realize that can really make their business just go bust. And I'd love to ask you, what are some of the things that you've acknowledged in your business or things that you've really had to consider that you would like other business owners to start thinking about if they're going to sell physical products?
One of our CFO, Casey, he mentioned it when we first started our business. He says anything over 5% is material. So if you're looking at your total revenue, anything over 5% is you really need to start taking a look at as your owner, because those are real dollars and real money. And when we started coming out with our flip flops and our footwear, oh, hey, we need to sell a product at $50. So let's make it for, we need to land it for 25. And just with the margins and what you need to cover for gross, let's say a 50-point gross margin. And then you start building your product, and all of a sudden there's an extra duty fee. There's a fuel freight surcharge fee. There's warehousing fees. There's pick, pack, and ship fees and everything else. And if you don't account for all those things ahead of time, if you don't research all the fees that your product goes through, from material supply all the way through to end user delivery, you're going to find there's percentages here and there, left and right, that just add up. And you could quickly, run yourself successfully out of business by not accounting for that stuff or not being aware of it. So it's a huge challenge as you grow any business, is understanding all the different fees that you pay in delivering a product.
When you're starting out, how do you even begin to factor in all those unknown costs?
One is you just reach out to some friends who are in a very similar business, or they're manufacturing in the same area, and say, hey, I'm thinking about making a product. I'm concerned about the fees that I might face. I want to make sure I'm accounting for as much as possible before I go and I put my deposits down and launch my company. Can you help me out? And if you ask most other business owners, specifically people that are in product-based businesses, they'll say, yeah, sure, I made all these mistakes. And here's what I know. And so you can account for that. We learned by failure. We just started making product and moving forward. Then all of a sudden, all the bills started rolling in and we started attributing them right in the chart of accounts. And then we started finding out just through simple spreadsheet math where all of our percentages were and how we weren't accounting for them.
Well, it sounds like one of the things, and it's something that we definitely believe in, is creating a spreadsheet with all the different costs and tracking those. Is there other things that you think about when it comes to running a business when you're selling these products? Like, I know that when I was at one point, I was interested in selling a physical product, and it was going to be a glass water bottle with like a rubber casing over it. No one, as far as I had ever seen, no one had ever done it. And then a couple of years later, somebody, now they're at like Whole Foods and all over the place. But when I started looking into that, very quickly I realized, wow, this like $20-$30 water bottle that I want to sell is going to cost me a lot of money, especially when I first want to start selling. It's going to be very expensive.
Yeah, and that's it. And for us, we knew that we were going to lose money for the first few years. Well, most businesses lose money for the first few years unless you've got it figured out and you got some sort of secret sauce. Well, we knew where our scale points were. We knew the points where we would hit our volume discounts and breaks where the math would really start working out. So can you struggle? Can you be lean? Can you run tight on those? So that way you can get your volume up enough to hit that point. And yeah, it's just kind of the dilemma of running a business, especially in a product-based business, is it's usually a volume game. And how do you hit that volume? And for us, it's just proper prior planning. They have this saying in the Army, proper prior planning prevents poor performance. And if you can just sit down and be willing to grunt through a Google sheet for a few hours and make all of your assumptions and just write down all your costs and figure out the basic formulas, you're going to be way more prepared for success than you were if you didn't do that.
We've interviewed some other businesses like MacNut Construction, Kamla, and I've noticed kind of a similar theme whenever we interview people that have that kind of military background, that they're very accepting that the first few years there's going to be a lot of struggle and grunt work and sacrifices. I would think that that's something that you would really, if somebody came and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, or I'm getting started, I would imagine that's one of the first things you would talk to them is, hey, are you invested enough to spend a few years grunting it out and probably not getting huge returns, or maybe not, just basically just losing money for the first few years? Am I right to assume that that's probably one of the first things you tell a new business owner?
It is. They make all these crazy entrepreneurial books and programs you can take and learn from, where you think you're going to make on a spreadsheet $1 million in 6 months. And that's the unicorn business. They just don't happen. Most of the time, it's just a lot of planning, patience, and hard work. And that's it. You just have to really work your way through it, and knowing that knowledge comes through experience and experience comes through failure. And you're going to fail a lot along the way, but just being able to pick yourself back up, identify where you made the mistake, make a plan to avoid that mistake in the future and drive forward is what I believe is the determining factor of successful business owners. Whereas most other people, the entrepreneurs or the talktrepreneurs, the wantrepreneurs or the talktrepreneurs, they'll get going, and as soon as they hit their first roadblock, they'll just stop.
That's a new word, want-to-preneurs, and what was that other word?
It's wantrepreneurs and talktrepreneurs.
It's some new terms there.
Yeah, I would love to hear from you. What else? What is one of the biggest tips that you could give the thriving launchers to start to apply some of this stuff?
Just be really careful on your marketing dollars. We've struggled with that significantly. It's an online world, and if you want to get the attention of your customers, it's a pay-to-play game. It's really that simple. If you want to market and you want to get to people through Facebook or Instagram or what other platform you're going to want to attach your customers to, that's real estate that needs to be bought on a bid or an auction. And so how do you account for that cost in the sale of your products? And how do you make sure that you're not overrunning it and or you're spending your money on the highest returning marketing spend? If you're going to want to move product, you have to sell it through the online platform. And those are paid platforms that you just really need to be careful of. And you're going to get hit up if you have any kind of success in your business by every digital marketing miracle firm on the planet that can guarantee you 20x return on investment, 10x return on investment. But just be really critical of those and make sure you're watching your numbers and don't run yourself out of business trying to sell your product.
What's the action step? We're coming to a close here, and I'd love to hear what's the action step that you would suggest that everyone who wants to start a physical product-based business that they can go out and apply right now.
Get online. You can find template spreadsheets, but essentially you need to be a master of your sales forecast. You need to be a master of your profit and loss statement, and you need to be a master of your cash flow. Those are the fundamentals of your business. Those are all three that you need. And if you can't run those, it's just not going to work. You can have a huge sales pipeline and you could have a great profit and loss statement showing tons of profitability. But if your cash can't support it, you're not going to make it. And we fell victim to this as well. So, but if you can get the spreadsheet to work, you have a higher likelihood of succeeding in a business. And there's so many templates out there that are already pre-formatted and can work for you, where you can just online, you can have them in the next 10 minutes after listening to this podcast. You can be on your way to creating a successful business.
Can you recommend any templates or software that you particularly love?
We are Google through and through. Just for the cost of running a business. Yeah, Google G Suite. Everything from your emails to your spreadsheets to your file sharing to your marketing, everything is being able to run your platform through Google. It's a simple, effective solution that until you're busting at $10 to $20 million, you can run pretty much everything you need to off of an inexpensive software suite provided by Google.
I love that, and I love how practical that is. It's something that we use with managing our team as well. It's something that we use when we work with some pretty big companies as well. So great tips there, Griff. One of the things too, Thriving Launchers, I wanted to make kind of a confession time, because Griff is talking about something, and it just, I want to make it more solid for you guys and tell you that in our business, especially when I was running by myself and doing this business on our own by myself without Kamala, I just was terrible at the looking at the numbers, and I'd go, oh, I just made $5,000, but then I would look and dig in a little closer, and it was like, no, I actually spent this much time to earn that money. I spent this amount of resources to earn that money, and when I break it down to hourly rates or the yearly income, it's really not very much. And so when we see people on social media saying we run a six-figure business, or hey, I just made $10,000, I always go, well, how long did it take you to do that? And what are your profits? What are your losses? How much is your staff getting paid? And these are things that if you just take a little bit of time to, as Griff said, really write down the numbers, then you can make better projections and make better decisions in your business. And it's something that I know that by myself without Kamla, I was not able to do. And it's why I'm a big believer in having a team. Griff, can you just, before we go here, say a little bit about how your team kind of plays a big part in your business and your success?
Yeah, my team is the reason we are successful. So there's three co-founders, Andy, Suri, who's our president, and Donald Lee, who's our CMO. Lee and I served in the military together. He's a tough kid out of a really tough neighborhood in Los Angeles. We would call him our perpetual naysayer. So he's always sniff testing, vendors, products, anything that we think we might be suspect of, and he puts the critical eye on it. He raises red flags and makes sure that we go into any situation with our heads up and making sure we're aware of what we're getting ourselves into. And then our president, Andy, he's actually my brother-in-law. He is a spreadsheet guru. He is our production master. He is detail-oriented, process-oriented. We kind of joke about it, but he keeps the promises that Lee and I make between marketing and sales. And with the three of us, it's a really good balance between all our personalities.
I love all that feedback, and having a team is essential. Thriving Launchers, I want to wrap us up and wrap you up here with some key points. One is know your profits, know your losses, really track the data. Tim Ferriss has some great quote about, what you can track, you can measure, and what you can measure, you can track. It's a really great little quote there. I know I totally butchered it, but it's super important. And your team. Your team is essential. Whatever it is that you got out of today's episode, Thriving Launchers, Go out there, apply whatever you can, and make it work for yourself. And until next time, we'll see you on the next episode, and keep thriving, y'all.
You've been listening to the Thriving Launch podcast. For books and resources related to today's episode, make sure to head over to thrivinglaunch.com. We'll see you there.